Today we are learning basketball with Spencer Davies, Cavs reporter for Clutch Points and Cavs Roundtable, national NBA feature writer for RG Media, and NBA draft writer for Babcock Hoops. Gotta check him out. Utility man at Run the Show. What am I missing here, Spencer? You're doing everything. Cover the league. How
I
you doing
think
today?
you know what? You did a good job there, and I'm great, man. How about you? I'm glad that we got to reconnect. I think it's been like a year since we did one, so it's about time.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute. Yeah, we gotta get back in here. I love your coverage of the Cavs and the NBA, so I'm glad we could get you back on the pod. And huge news. We're basically emergency pod level. Hitting the big red button for this one. Like James Harden on his way to Cleveland. Darius Garland on his way to Los Angeles. Really didn't see this coming, but there were murmurings of Garland wanting out, and then suddenly and wanting his own show, running to run his own team a little bit, and then suddenly this week Harden, is up for his next team just like that, just when things are swimming perfect in Los Angeles. But that's the NBA. Out of nowhere, we'll dive into all these trades. That's just the first trade that Cleveland made. They made, three different trades at the deadline to really revamp their team. And Kobe Altman was really, really excited about, saving money, improving the team. So I'm sure we'll dive into that as well. And just a ton with the Cavs and maybe hit on a little other deadline Eastern Conference moves, see how the playoffs shake out at the end of the pod. But first, I want to start with Darius Garland and just what he meant to Cavs fans, how he'll kind of be remembered in his short stint, and what was the reaction for giving up? Obviously him and Mobley are the two young core franchise cornerstone pieces that were drafted here, that were viewed as the young stars, that you're bringing in these other big talents to kind of build around as well. So what was that reaction like? Even as great as Harden is.
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head there, man, and it's hurtful around these parts. You could tell that Cleveland emotionally was attached to Darius Garland. Even as someone like me who's been around him since he's been drafted, saw him grow up, saw him have some really good moments during seasons, game winners, incredible performances. Like, I'll never forget that one against the Timberwolves at home. That was one of my favorite games that he's ever played. I saw him bury a game winner in Detroit last year. The big-time shot against Oklahoma City last December, I want to say it was. It's been a really fun ride. And I think Donovan Mitchell put it the best way. For a guy to be a rookie and to statistically be the worst player in the NBA and to turn into what he turned into, a two-time All-Star, people didn't think he would bounce back from the injury, the first injury, when he messed up his jaw. He had all that stuff go wrong for him in 2023 or 24. And then the following season, to have the all-star first half that he did, just shows the mental fortitude. It shows the strength that he has as a player mentally, his skill set. It's incredible. What sucks is that injuries just continued to follow him. And I don't even think it was the run-of-the-mill stuff that you usually see. Like you call guys injury prone when they have Achilles injuries or they have history with knee problems. Like, Darius's injuries are not like, soft tissue stuff. It's
Right.
in my honest opinion, it's freak injuries. It's the toe injury that happens towards the end of last season, and then after the Miami Heat series, he re-aggravates it and he's not himself. He has surgery on it over the summer. Comes back, looks pretty good in the first game back, in the second game back too, and then he hurts it again. And then when he comes back from it a second time, he's playing against Philadelphia, and he has been back for 16 or so games, I think it was, and looked amazing. The Cavs, their rise literally was going with his tide because of the way he organized the offense and because of the pace that he played with. Offensively, they were no longer clunky. They got guys in the right spots. You saw Evan getting better as he started playing more of his style that he played last year. You saw Jared Allen, feasting off of that and getting to the free throw line at least and touching it. So Darius did a lot of that stuff. And then, of course, in Philadelphia, he goes to grab a loose ball. He had a turnover. So he goes to grab a loose ball in between three guys, and he puts all the pressure on his right foot. And then he gets the less worse version of it, but a similar injury that he had to his left toe. And so now You got a guy that had finally been getting back from his original left toe sprain, great toe by the way, and then does the same thing on the other foot. And it's like, man, like, can this guy get any worse luck? And
Yeah.
I know the organization was just like, what else can we do? Like, it's not about like whether or not he's forcing their hand to make a move because he wasn't good enough or anything like that. That's not even close. Darius was a tremendous talent for the Cavs, and I think he made a world of difference on the court. I think post deadline, you're going to see that same thing in LA. And Kobe even opened his media availability yesterday talking about how Darius is probably going to make him look really dumb in a few years. But it's just one of those things where something had to be done, and I understand the rationale behind moving on from Garland. It's been 7 years, 7.5 years. He was the longest tenured Cav. Now it's Dean Wade. Hard to believe that. Emotionally in Cleveland, it was just really tough for a lot of fans. I know a lot of people in that building feel the same way because there's you can't help but be emotional about it and be attached to a guy that you've been around and lights up a room because all he does is smile and joke and all that stuff. It was a very, that defined the Cavs. And, it's unfortunate it went down the way it did last year in the playoffs. I still think, and I know that maybe some people, inside those walls might think it's, kind of excusey, but I mean, what else can you do when you're not 100% in the playoffs with Darius Garland and DeAndre Hunter has a thumb injury and you're running into a buzzsaw like the Pacers, and they did the same thing to other teams in the postseason. I think that, again, I understand from moving on from Darius Garland just because you want like a new look or something like that. But I thought that they might do that in the offseason instead of at the trade deadline and giving a brand new look, a brand new roster for 30 games to chase a title this year and probably, next year. I don't know how much longer after that. You look at Donovan's contract status and you look at even Harden's, contract status, and depending on what they do when they negotiate with him after the finals. But it's definitely something that, and I'm sure we'll get more into, the other side of that deal. But in terms of DG, I still think that they might have given up on him early, but I certainly understand what their thinking was.
Right. I mean, it's a tough choice, and he meant a lot to that city. And anytime you have a homegrown, like you draft a player, you see him grow up, you see him develop and go through the ups and downs, and like the drastic difference from like, the worst impact in the league to all-star top 30 type player. I think Suggs had something like that too, and it happens for rookies, and sometimes, and it's not the end of the world, and you just have to. Some guys need a little time to kind of get their NBA bodies, get in NBA shape, or find their groove. And Garland was a special talent. I mean, I know it was definitely like in the Magic Cavs playoffs series, like it was definitely the Donovan Mitchell show. But there were moments where Garland was just unguardable, like that quick first step, getting to the rim, pulling up from three. Like when his shot's falling like that and getting to the rim, like you can't stop him. I mean, he's too quick, he's too smooth with the shot and the scoring. And good feel. So it is exciting. I was excited to see him with Zubats. We'll see who's left of the Clippers, after all this. But at least see him with Kawhi and kind of have his own show there. And already talking to Ty Lue about bringing some Kyrie plays out from the playbook, maybe from back when you have LeBron and Kyrie with Ty Lue was coaching on the Cavs, of course, back in the day. Now you got Ty Lue and Kawhi Garland.
Was
it's
there
a fun
for that
little
too.
basketball.
Was there for that too, by the way. If you want to age
Yeah.
me.
Oh man, there we go. Now we're talking. Hey, you've been covering some real Cavs basketball, so we'll see what LeBron has planned. Maybe a little retirement tour with this Cavs team. Any wrinklings there? Who knows? One part that I wanted to double check on what you said was, it was time to kind of do something. Is that referring to the salary cap situation? That with 3 or 4 big salaries, something had to give eventually. Is that because the team had kind of hit its ceiling? Is that because Garland's injuries had just kind of forced that ceiling and forced their hand a little bit? Is it a combination? And I guess where does Harden come into all this? Because obviously, I said this when they did it. Like, I totally agree with Kobe Altman. Like, long-term potential-wise, you gave up the clear blue-chip piece here that could be a star, franchise cornerstone offensive guy for years. But right now, and, anytime he's really had to play, like, Harden is all-star level offense good still, if not better. And this is a, like, ready-made plug-and-play third all-star ready to go. Like, you double Donovan, Harden's ready to go. And we'll get into more of that side of it as well. But, when you say that about the team, what really do you think pushed it over the edge, maybe?
I think it's a combination of everything you just said, to be honest. I don't think it was one thing. I think the second apron definitely weighed on them. And I know that they're not under it yet, but they're dang close. They're less than $4 million above it now. And they made moves at the deadline to acquiesce to that. So it was started by the DeAndre Hunter deal. Okay, you send him out to Sacramento, you bring back Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis. We'll get into what they bring to the table later. But that right there already started to save you some money. Then you make the Darius Garland for James Harden deal, and that saves you a little bit more money as well. I mean, same contracts, but you're looking long term here. You're thinking about what you're renegotiating in the summer. And then thirdly, you get off of Lonzo Ball's contract. When you send that away to Utah, you create a traded player exception coming back, and you lose, by the way, all of your draft capital. Your second round picks are gone until I think it's 2033. And, but I think that is strategic. I think it's a lot easier to aggregate contracts now and be under the second apron when you come to the offseason. Financial flexibility was clearly a priority for him. And there's a way to now reshape the roster in the vision that you have for this new look team that you're putting together. I don't know who's safe on this roster outside of, I would say, rookie scale guys are pretty safe because they're good rotational players who are developing and also have been the most productive members of the Cavs this year consistently. And then you obviously look at Donovan Mitchell and James Harden. Maybe Harden isn't untouchable depending on that player option because it's only partially guaranteed until I believe it's July 11th. So thinking of that, I mean, I know that the Cavs are saying that Harden wants to be a Cav for a long time, but untouchables is a tough way to look at it. You look at Schroeder's contract is in the 15 millions. That's probably a good chip to have if you don't want to go with that kind of fit. You also have to figure out Keon Ellis's potential extension here coming in a few days. I think it's February 9th, where they can officially extend him up to 3 years and 52 million, I believe the number was. So, you got some maneuvering you can do. Maybe you try and mess with some redundancies you have on the roster. But financial flexibility was, I think, the biggest priority here. I don't think Harden was the biggest priority. I think they saw that they had the opportunity to get a guy like James Harden. And Kobe said that the Clippers and James's representation approached him a couple weeks ago. And that kind of explains now the being out for personal reasons at the end and figuring out how to almost have that loophole. But with James, apparently he identified Cleveland as a place he wanted to go, and he liked the core, and he views it as the last piece to his legacy and to chase that title. Ultimately, and you look at Darius Garland's value, and you see that he was able to still net an all-timer like James Harden, even though he's 36 years old. Cavs had to pounce because they probably saw what Trae Young received back from Washington in CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert with no draft compensation and said, we've got to get out. We've got to get out because it's a large contract. We're operating still as a second apron team, highly in the second apron. And we can't afford to pay Darius Garland $40+ million if this is what we're getting from him at this point where we are in our championship. I hate the word championship window, but like in the championship window. So that I think had everything to do with why they made this move. I said it in an article the other day that just talking to some people around the league that, guards are just kind of fading a little bit. And you could see a similar situation happen with Ja Morant in Memphis. You could see a similar situation happen with LaMelo Ball in Charlotte. depending on what these teams are thinking. But the person that I was talking to was like, look what Jared McCain just went for from Philly to Oklahoma City, and tell me that guards aren't the best when they're cheap. So it might be it just might be one of those things where these franchises are seeing it go the way that running backs are going in the NFL. And they're more focused on getting the all-around creating 6'5", 6'6" wings. You would like to have guys bigger than that, of course, but the emergence of Jalen Tyson, for example, I think it all plays a part. And I know that was kind of a rambly answer, but it had me thinking, because there's motivation financially, but there's also trying to get out in front of something that could really hurt you if you ended up not doing it.
Hey, rambly answers are what sports podcasts are for, man. You're in the right place.
I still think they could have gotten somebody different. I will go there too. Like, I know, like, it probably doesn't make sense for the other team, but like, I saw one float out there the other day. I thought like maybe Drew Holiday would be a better fit next to Donovan Mitchell, and that would have been able to work with Darius Garland's contract in a swap. Now you have to get another team to be on board with that, and understanding that Portland has Scoot Henderson. I know he hasn't played much, but they still have Scoot Henderson. Damian Lillard is in that building. How does that work with Denny Avdia, and you have Shaden Sharp is those guys that are really coming along? Like, does that work financially for them? But like, I would foresee that fit being a lot better than a James Harden fit, and I'm sure that's where we get to your next question.
I see. No, that is interesting. That level of player. I mean, it's kind of like trading like the what if of what Garland can become for, like, this is what you kind of hope he would become at some point, even if Harden's on the back nine of his career, like this level of star. Like, you're just you need the star production now, and you can't really wait for the development and the health and the injury rehab any longer, because Mobley and Allen and Mitchell are ready to win now, and they're clearly a threat in the East right now, and they're just, Garland has this value, kind of like you said, to pull that in, where there is a lot of less value, it seems, for smaller guards around the league between LaMelo and Ja and Trey, seeing Ja go not go for anything because teams reportedly wanted picks to take him, and Trey going for no picks, like you said, and to that point, Jared McCain getting picks because he's still on the lower salary, and getting it's different for every team how they allocate salary, but that kind of makes sense. I think I also view, like, centers in that realm sometimes, of just, how much should you allocate, and it all depends on the talent, I guess, between, a star versus, like, the Magic strategy was to go for 3 or 4 centers at about $15 million to have depth of options. And, I think it's helped in some cases when all these injuries hit randomly, but it seems like you can find solid centers for lesser value without spending too much on maybe a limited player or something like that. And the same goes for a guard, where maybe smaller guards that are lesser defenders, maybe they get picked on defense in the playoffs. And to your point about when playoffs come, the defense is still a question mark for this backcourt. You have Harden and Donovan Mitchell. Harden sneakily has that post-up defense that, everyone likes to bring up. So they're not going to, sneak up on him there, but he'll hold his own. But, it is a little bit of two guys that if I'm not wrong, they actually record a lot of steals because they're a little bit of gamblers, and they know they have Allen behind them and well, at least Donovan Mitchell does. But now both of these guards know they have these 2 rim protectors behind them. So, offensively, I really love the fit. But defensively, I could see how a guy like Drew Holiday totally evens out your two-way floor balance, and maybe that really helps the impact numbers come playoff time and rounds out kind of your offense. But offensively, the thing that stands out is kind of like their best skills are at this point, and Harden has kind of not devolved or anything. He's just still a point guard at his heart. And Donovan Mitchell is still a bucket getter at his heart. And I think that kind of works in this backcourt for a lot of reasons. Like Donovan, anytime he gets doubled, now has a reliable guy that can score, shoot, and create wide open shots. And he can split the load, and he can be staggered with him, and he can take turns offensively with him, where one of them can be on the offense or on the floor at all times. You have a star guard that can create efficient looks every time. And it seems like a lot of pick and roll or ISO offense are options. Like, these guys are very skilled and talented to basically score any different way against anyone. So I'm really interested to see how kind of explosive those two work together, because, I think it also helps the big men, and we'll get to that a little bit as well. I think, like, obviously, he's a big man whisperer, as I think you put it in one of your articles. Like, he's a guy like Chris Paul is known for. Like, he gets the most out of his rim rollers, and he kind of makes life easier for a guy like Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, getting them looks at the rim for a couple easy extra points a game and just a little more motivated to give their all. And it kind of, to me, could help, Mobley settle into that kind of third scorer dynamic option, and Allen kind of just be the rim roller, play finisher, and they don't necessarily have to kind of be as dynamic all the time. They can all kind of flow into just a lot more maybe pick and roll heavy offense through the guards, and you have these big men down low. Is a lot of that how you envision it, or where am I off there?
I appreciate you reading, by the way. That when you use the word big man wrestler, I got a smile on my face. It was like, oh, he digested. He went through some of this. Okay, no, I think so. The thing that stood out to me first when I heard about the trade, other than just being like, what are they doing, was the Cavs play really fast with Kenny. And so I immediately thought, James Harden in that environment? Like, is he going to push the pace? Are they going to play in transition? Like, now, Kobe, when I asked him about that, said that, yes, he will still get the ball up the floor. He'll advance the ball. He will, still be able to help them, play at that pace. But he also, this is what stuck out, the reasoning behind the swap is that James Harden brings a calmness to him. In this sense, the playoffs come down to a half-court game. It slows down. Can you go get a bucket? I know that ISO basketball, it's tough to watch sometimes because it's dribble, dribble, dribble. And I know that Beard, he just lulls people to sleep. He's there on that left wing, just doing the little song and dance. Is he going to take a step back? Is he going to try and get by you? Maybe bait for a foul a little? Like, that is James Harden's game. James Harden's game is also, like you said, the screen and roll. Probably the best pocket passer in the league, if I'm not mistaken. Like, if you just watch that little left hand, like, one hand, underhand feed to the roller, it's a thing of beauty to watch. We've seen it so many different places. Almost Darius Garland-like, and you could probably say James Harden-like because he came first. When he comes off that screen, is he going to shoot that little floater push shot? Is he going to throw a lob to someone for the dunker spot? Like, he has that ability. Like take that not away. But the thing that stood out to me was when Kobe talked about, okay, we're on the road. It's Game 7. The crowd is really, really hyped up. Let's just slow down a little. Let's slow down this possession. Make sure that we get the right shot. We got this in the right guy's hands. They take away our counter. They take away Donovan Mitchell, or if they take away Harden, now you got someone that you can pass the ball to, as you were mentioning earlier, to either go out and get you a 9-1-1 bucket, or to get your offense in a good spot, to set it up in the right way. So to me, that was telling, and that's where I do agree with Kobe, where Cleveland, as good as they've been, and I mentioned this, I think, a few games ago. It might have been even in the game that they played against Portland this past weekend. For some reason, like, whenever the home team chops down their lead in the fourth quarters, like, they get kind of antsy. Like, they get a little bit like, okay, we have to counterpunch right away. We can't just, like, and you don't want to dribble the life out of the basketball when you're up by 12, say, like that, like in 6 minutes left or something like that. But still, like, it looked like they just fire enough shots, like, and you could tell that the environment was getting to them a little bit. I think Portland got it down to 8-10 or something like that, and then the Cavs responded because, honestly, before the move and before even Darius has even been playing in this latest stretch, the Cavs have been really good. As I mentioned earlier, the emergence of Jalen Tyson. You look at Naquan Tomlin. Craig Porter Jr., all these guys have been playing their butts off. Dean Wade defending, being healthy. But other than that, the calming nature of what James brings, and the poise maybe is the right word for it, in the playoffs, I think that's what stood out to me when Kobe was talking about it. And it's hard to disagree with that, because whether it's fair or not, Darius Garland hasn't shown that, or hasn't had the opportunity to put that on display. Whereas James Harden, despite having some rough elimination games, has played 6,000 minutes of playoff basketball. He has 173 playoff games that he's appeared in, and that you can't take that lightly. It's a reputation that he carries because of those games that he failed to play the right way. But you can't also discount 2 Western Conference Finals appearances, and even early in his career seeing it with the Thunder being to the biggest level. So apparently James views this as the last chance for him to add the last piece to his legacy, as according to Kobe, and that's probably the summation of why Harden.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you bring up the Western Conference championship teams, because that's kind of what it reminds me of, is that it's almost like they brought in Harden, but to be their Chris Paul with Donovan Mitchell in the Harden role, and to be that like savvy veteran point guard, do-it-all creator, because Harden has just been a reliable point. He's still scoring and getting his, but like just a reliable offensive engine as the main guy. And like one of the huge things now is Donovan Mitchell and James Harden both being offensive engines, but getting to share the load and not getting all of the attention on them the entire time they're out there. Like you double either of them and give a wide open 3 to either of these guys, and it's game over. And that's what made the Splash Brothers so lethal too. But just with that clip, the Rockets team that he had success with was also an elite defense with Clint Capella and two-way guys in the front court, like an Ariza and PJ Tucker, I believe, at that was some of their best teams that played defense and hit threes. And Mobley is more dynamic than any of these guys, and Jared Allen is probably just as impactful, if not more so, than Capella at the time, who was also very strong defender, rim roller kind of archetype in that sense. So it resembles that's like a proof of success for this type of roster to me, where it's like clearly 2 guys, all-star level guards who can score and create good looks every time down with the best of them. I asked Kobe about Donovan Mitchell before one of the Magic pre-games. What did he credit to D Mitch's kind of like development this year, because he's having a career year again, scoring, shooting, efficiency wise. And he just generally credited that off-season development and work ethic, like saying something along the lines of like, he used to only use that left step back to kill you. Now he can use anything and he'll bust it out more organically and just kind of have it all more in the arsenal of moves. The other day he had like some crazy like crossover sham god into a step back on the left wing, like just making up new moves. I don't know if I've ever seen that one particularly. So, D Mitch is just an electric scorer on his own right. So that's the best case for this is the offense is just electric between those two, to me, creating good looks every time in pick and roll, 2 great foul drawing guards, 2 great 3-point shooting guards. They're both downhill drive and kick guys. They're both, and I think it just really helps kind of alleviate the pressures of all the extra stuff, like D Mitch having to create everything, Evan Mobley having to kind of be a point forward at times. Like, you can just run the James Harden show anytime you want now and just kind of take a break and just let him do his thing and create good looks. And I think it's a great breath of fresh air in that sense for this offense, while also, being a bummer, of course, with, the what if of kind of building around Garland and bringing these guys around Garland to bring that full circle a little bit. But that's the NBA, and it's a credit to Garland that he still had this value to bring in a star like Harden, as you're saying. With Kenny Atkinson and Kobe Altman, was there, you've kind of already hit on it, but was there any other messaging between kind of what the goals are for this team? Is it officially like, this is a championship or bust type of move this year, and that's really, we are focused on, contending here and now, we're pulling all the stops, and this is proof of it.
I think you said it. You said it well. With Kenny, I'm pulling up the quote because I do not want to butcher this.
Sure.
He said something the other day that caught my attention when initially talking about Harden. But yes, it does. They believe push them over the edge. It believes that this is like kind of a vote of confidence for the roster, for the young guys, especially the ones that I was mentioning earlier. I believe that
because, like you said, this team is already contender level good before the Harden trade. They were on like a run. You probably know better than me, whatever the run was, the last like 12 or 15
17
games.
out of the last 21, I think they've won.
Yeah, like they're back to as good of a run as last year that they had, that level of pace in that stretch, and ninth point differential in the league, 8th best offense, 11th best defense, 9th in shooting efficiency, and you just added one of the most efficient shot creators, scorers in the game.
Yeah.
I guess the next question there is, how much of an upgrade this year is Harden to what Garland was giving you this year? And that will kind of transition into a quick playoff outlook for us in the East.
Yeah, sure. No, and don't worry, I'm here. We're good. There's no time limit. We're good. So before we get to what you said, like I finally found the quote. Okay, so with Kenny, he said that James gives them a different dimension. Okay, so I think that
I read that one.
Kind of shows, his belief in the player. You brought it up earlier, and that was fascinating. I never thought of it in the light of coming full circle with the Chris Paul, James Harden dynamic, but him being the Chris Paul to Donovan Mitchell's James Harden. I think that's awesome. But it's ironic because Kenny said his first call was to Mike D'Antoni as soon as the move was made. So
there it is.
He said that consulting him, because he believes, even though that James was good in Ty Lue's system and was the system, to put it the way he did, that James was at the pinnacle of his powers in Houston. And so he consulted with the man who was on the top of the bench for that team. And I think that bodes well for figuring out ways to use him. I personally do not think that him and Donovan are a great fit for one another. Okay? That is something that I got to see. Because for me, you said that there's defensive redundancy. I think there's offensive redundancy. There
is a little there too. You're not wrong there.
We have revisionist history with Darius Garland. Like, oh my gosh, James is gonna make Evan and Jarrett so much better. Let's look at the Darius numbers with JA. Let's look at the Darius numbers with Evan. We're kidding ourselves to think that they didn't have those type of good numbers. Now, James Harden has done it for Clint Capella. He's done it for Joel Embiid, who was in the MVP conversation. You had him do it, obviously, for Vitas Zubats in LA. So I'm not taking away from James, but I'm just saying, like, DG did that stuff. So that's not new. That's not new at all. James is going to be more deliberate to try, I think, to score, to be, the system. And I'm curious how Donovan plays off ball with him, because someone's going to have to get off the rock, and it's going to be Donovan. James Harden is not going to cut. He's not going to spot up for three. That is not what James Harden does. Donovan is going to have to get used to that. But I think it's probably welcoming for him because, as you said, he has been carrying a load on his shoulders the whole season. And you saw what he had to do last playoffs. I saw it firsthand in Cleveland, in Indiana, how tired that guy was. And the way he was just like a fullback dive in football, just going straight to the rack, drawing fouls. He had 20-plus free throw attempts, and I think game 2 and game 3, ridiculous games, like remarkable efforts, commendable. You can't have that in the playoffs. You can't have that playoffs. So James will take that off of him, understanding that. But those two in particular don't see the fit. Do not see the fit. They'll have to show me otherwise with that, and Donovan as well, what it's going to be like when he doesn't have the ball in his hands, because he asked for the ball out of his hands, but then sometimes you'll see him take some bad shots in games because he's just used to being that guy that puts the ball in the bucket. So for me, their advantage is going to come for, as you mentioned earlier, staggering them, having one in the court at all times. That is going to be where they thrive, because let's not forget, we mentioned it earlier, Dennis Schroeder came over. So Dennis Schroeder, he's going to have to play. He's going to have to play either alongside Harden, either alongside Mitchell. I think Kenny even brought up the fact that you could see some 3-guard lineups with Schroeder, Mitchell, and Harden. So, and he alluded to the OKC years where Schroeder did that with Paul and SGA. So,
Okay.
There's going to be some differences in lineups, but then where does that leave Jalen Tyson? Where does that leave, because he is an emerging, not only a rising star, not only a most improved candidate. Kobe said yesterday that Jalen Tyson, like Evan Mobley, we talk about him as our future. We have to add Jalen Tyson to that conversation. And where are we to disagree with that? This is a remarkable jump. It's not even a jump. This is basically like a redshirt freshman year for Jalen Tyson. And he's doing what he's doing for a team that wants to contend. So you have a lot of rotational questions. Kenny is usually pretty good with that. He's going to experiment the heck out of things. But for me, like if you want to talk about strictly this season, you got 30 games. You have 30 games to figure this out in 2 months. And then the playoffs are going to come around. You're going to be in the playoffs. Let's not be stupid. But you're going to figure out all this by that time. You think you're going to get to that point, to the pinnacle, after putting together a team like it's 2K? I don't think so. No, I'm not saying it was the wrong move. I'm just saying this move was made past this year. They're talking about competing for finals and a championship this year. It's for next year. Because there is very little evidence that you can make a big swing for a superstar at the trade deadline and win a title in that same year. I think back to Kevin Durant going to the Suns. I think back to James Harden being acquired by the Nets. I think back to all of those big moves that were made in the same season, in the same year, and figuring it out to win a title that year. It's not, I don't think it's feasible. If they prove me wrong, I will put on clown makeup. But there is very little evidence that in the same season, remember, like I don't want my words to get twisted, in the same season, that does not work. It does not happen that fast. And to me, plug and play, that's reserved for role players more than it is for star players. So prove me wrong. But in terms of 2026, this finals, don't think it happens. I don't even know. I think they would get to the conference finals. I really do, because they have a surplus of talent. But I don't know if they win it, because we're going to get to it. Like a lot of wheeling and dealing has been done in the Eastern Conference as well. So that's just my 2 cents.
No, I mean, you heard it here first, Cavs fans. You gotta hold Spencer on this one, just in case they win it all this year. You gotta keep an eye on that one. No, I mean, you're right. It's very rare that a team makes a trade deadline move and like wins it all. And if it is, it's like who did the Celtics do it with? KG? Was it like PJ? It wasn't PJ Tucker.
The Bucks did it with PJ Tucker. And he barely played. I did a podcast the other day, Danny Cunningham, over at Locked On, and we were looking up like who the moves were and stuff like that. The Nuggets went out and got Thomas Bryant. Like that was it. Like you think back to the Cavs, if you want to look at 2016, they got Channing Frye. It's those types of moves. Right? It's Derek White the year before the Celtics win it all. It's Aaron Gordon before the Nuggets win it all. Not the same year, not the same season. It's for that next year. And you can't say that publicly if you're the Cavs, because that's obviously something you can't admit, that you're not going to win it all. And I don't think that they don't believe that. But in my opinion, I think that this is a move for next year, and that this trade deadline and that this move with Harden, that it's an incomplete, because as we mentioned earlier, they're only $4 million over the second apron. Easier to aggregate contracts in the offseason. Got movable deals. There is no turning back now. And I hate to be this guy, but obviously there's LeBron James that's looming. Giannis Antetokounmpo is another name that has been linked to him. Like they've kicked it into gear, and they are really making sure that Donovan Mitchell signs back. And this is the way that they're doing it. And they don't have any second round picks, or they barely have any draft capital at all. And they're comfortable with their scouting department saying, hey, undrafted free agent, come in as a two-way. We'll convert you. Because if you look up and down their roster, that's Craig Porter Jr., right? That's Naquan Tomlin. That's Dean Wade. And I know he was drafted first overall in the G League draft in 2023. But Sam Merrill, same thing. Tyrese Proctor, second-round pick. They are capable of identifying talent to fill those gaps. And I think that they are comfortable going for the big fish because of that.
For sure. On some of those names you had, I brought up the catch and shoot numbers. Jalen Tyson, 48% 3-point catch and shoot numbers, 4 threes a game on catch and shoot. Sam Merrill, 48%, 5 catch and shoot threes per game. Like, they are just ready to catch and fire. And thankfully, the on-ball guys are still efficient off-ball. Well, not Schroeder as much. He's shooting 25. That's only last night. Never mind on that one. But 42% for Donovan Mitchell this year on catch and shoots. Off-ball threes, only 4 a game. I have a little more faith in. Harden, 36% on only 2 a game. And, something you were hitting on, I feel like if this was like peak Harden and peak Mitchell, like coming off of Jazz and Rockets, they probably wouldn't mesh on the court because of like egos or something, of some of the stuff that we've kind of hit on, of some of that overlap. Like, they're both star scorers that kind of do the same thing in the same spots on the court. But I think just because of some of the things you described, Harden like willing to sacrifice for that last title to get everybody off his back, that he finally has a ring, and he'll do it as the point guard, as he's shown the last few years with Embiid and with Kawhi and Zubats. He could still run an offense and score efficiently as well as anybody in the league and step in and do that. And with Donovan Mitchell, he's proven what he can do. He's doing it again this year, and he's still getting tired at the end of these games and series. So now he probably realizes, like, yeah, I could use a running mate to kind of carry the load with me. Let's bring in another guy that does what I do a little bit and just kind of split the load. And then Schroeder doesn't bring the 3-point aspect of that, really, a little bit of the pull-up 3, but, he brings that pick and roll aspect that those other two also kind of bring. They can all be relied on for pick and roll offense, with Jared Allen as one of the best rim rollers and Mobley threatening the pick and pop, so you can run all the different double screen actions and have Mobley pop with drags and horns or whatever it is with these guys.
And getting to the free throw line too. Let's not forget about that.
Yeah,
like, they get downhill. And I think that's another big part of this as well.
That's all key elements. Harden also, the one last difference I think is probably just the general consistency overall. Like, Harden plays a lot of games. He doesn't miss a lot of games.
Nope.
And that tag compared to the injury prone tag or whatever Garland's had to deal with is probably a big reason they were just like, at least he'll be there. At least we know he will be on the court and will have another star option, even though both of these guys have kind of dealt with some playoff failures. So I don't even know if either one gets knocked in the rationalization of this trade when it comes to that, because they both kind of, have had some off nights in the playoffs, even though Harden has logged a ton of experience to get there. As Morey will tell you, Daryl Morey, it's not his fault that, Harden's fault that, the peak of his career is going up against the Warriors. Like, there's a reason he lost those playoff games. Like, the other team is all-time great, and the Rockets were, like, all-time great too, just maybe not that level of all-time great, especially offensively. I mean, the D'Antoni Rockets were setting offensive ratings never seen before, and that was a lot because of just this general shot crease. And James Harden can score ISO, score pick and roll, score at the rim, draw fouls, hit threes. He's like walking Morey ball in that sense, and has been ever since. And definitely, statistically got the most out of him with D'Antoni. So you can see, why Coach Atkinson gave him a call to try to pick his brain there. I think the best version is Harden goes full unselfish point guard play and just like, I don't care who scores, but I will run the offense. And D Mitch kind of goes full like, I'll do more off-ball stuff. Like, I'll be the one, like you're saying, to do more catch and shoot threes and let you and Schroeder do the playmaking and let me just kind of go get buckets, because he's just so naturally gifted at that anyway that it kind of puts him in his best role there. So best case, that is how you can envision it. And I do totally agree with the trade stuff. You never see this level of trade midseason. Normally, I think it's like Popovich has had like a rule against midseason trades, because he for that general sense of like, you don't want to disrupt the team in the middle of their run together. It's bad for the energy and bad to kind of build the camaraderie back up and just figure it all out on the fly. Harden is one of these guys. It'll be interesting because, generally speaking, I totally agree. Easier to plug and play a D&3 wing into his role as the 7th or 8th man than it is to just introduce a new offensive engine to your team overnight and everybody be cool with their new touches and role just like that. And so that's going to take an adjustment. Thankfully, it just kind of feels like they are ready to maybe sacrifice a little bit more if it means winning it all, because they keep knocking on the door. These are one of these rising playoff teams with playoff experience in the East with the Cavs here, where they've locked up, huge series, overcome all the battles. Now they just kind of need to get over the top, get into a finals and get that last experience. And this could be that kind of move that puts them there. And, looking at the standings, I mean, they're as talented as any team in the East, like full stop. Like the Pistons are on an incredible run this year, and the Knicks and Celtics, Raptors, Sixers have all been great. They're all within 4 games of each other between 2 and 6. But, after this move, the Cavs are the 4 seed right now. There's no reason they, can't keep climbing once they figure it out a little bit. But, you can also see an adjustment period being a little bit of a worry. And I don't think it'll be anything where they, slip out of a playoff seed or anything like that while they're adjusting, because the East just isn't that level of good. Like in the West, they might miss the playoffs or need a year to get it together. But in the East, like they'll at least kind of be getting playoff experience while they figure it out kind of thing. But I do totally agree that this feels like a bring the guy in now. Let's start gelling together now, and we at least have, it seems like correct me if I'm wrong, the player option is for next season.
Yeah, no, so it's for next season. It's 13 or 14 million guaranteed when he opts in, and then there's a period from June 29th to July 11th. It fully guarantees July 11th for that option. So that's what's interesting to me, because I don't know how that works as far as being a trade chip. I don't know how that works doing whatever. Like,
it's interesting.
If he opts out, then the Cavs renegotiate and get that number down a little bit. Like, that's what I'd be thinking.
So is this kind of feels another like pre-agency, as they say, like another like free agency move before free agency. Like you bring the potential acquisition in now, you get him in the system, you see him for a few months, and you see how he works, you see how he is in the locker room, the day-to-day, and then, and it's also with Harden, it's a little bit of trial run on both ways. You kind of want him to commit at that point too, because he's so, I don't know, open to moving around on a whim, it seems.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like he's not, I don't think he's ever been one to take a pay cut. You are going to have to, pay what he's worth. And if he continues to ball out like this on a good team, like he'll continue to get these big deals. Because he's a star, and he has been. Like we can view like a couple knocks on him, but like for his overall career compared to like Steph and Durant and his peers, but like there is a reason they're his peers. Like he's that good. So I just think this I love this move for the win now move that it is, but it is like a contend now, get some experience now, and probably be the favorite next season after all that experience, just because of how much change is involved. But lucky for them, like, I mean, I don't know if I'd really be worried about anyone in the East if I was the Cavs, other than like the Pistons are really great this year, and the Knicks have been a tough matchup before, even if, they've definitely improved since that first playoff series. Do you think, who are the biggest threats you think now to the Cavs, especially after all these moves? I haven't really credited some of the other moves that these teams made as well. Celtics adding a Vucevic, get a different element to that team. The Raptors add Chris Paul. We'll see kind of what happens with the point guard up there. The Hawks and Wizards probably more so for next season, but make some big moves. Or Pacers as well. I mean, Zubats to the Pacers, Anthony Davis to the Wizards. Is there any one team that really you think has their attention, or a couple teams that they're kind of looking at that, do the Cavs think they're as good as anyone in the East and basically, should win the title? Or like, it sure seems like they're in that confidence level of like, why should they fear a Pistons or Knicks team that isn't really any more proven than us?
Yeah, no, they're in that mind frame for sure. I think that Boston is definitely the one that pops out to me. And that was even before the Vooch move. Now that they got Vooch and somebody who's going to spread the floor for him, but he's also going to rebound the heck out of the ball, be that mid-post option with that jump hook, that nice fadeaway turnaround on the baseline. I love Vooch's game so much. But you have Jaylen Brown playing like an MVP candidate right now. You got Derek White causing all kinds of havoc. You have, obviously, Jason Tatum hoping to be back sooner than later, just from the standpoint. And then obviously, Pritchard can give you some real hell. It's a tough squad. It's a tough squad. I think that would probably be the Cavs thought to be the biggest threat. I don't know. Like the Knicks have gotten back to it after their lull, right? Like every team in the NBA has a lull. It even happened to the Thunder, for God's sake. Right. They had a tough stretch, but now the Knicks are playing some really good ball. They're playing good defense. I think the questions are raised around, at least from what I've seen with reports with Cat. But I mean, admire the heck out of Jalen Brunson. I think that they have a really good thing going. OG, Mikal. It's a tough group to play against. I love their young guys like Miles McBride. I know he just got hurt, but they did just pick up Jose Alvarado, and that guy's going to play not 110%. He's going to play 210% for that team. I promise you that.
He came out hard in his opening. He was doing the post-game interview already. He's GTA Liberty City. He's bringing it.
He's perfect fit for that group, and we go back and look at what Mitchell Robinson's able to do, commanding the offensive glass, the way that he affects that team, not only from a physical standpoint, but just it seems like he steps on the floor, the energy pops up. New York's tough. I think Philly has a solid future. I don't think they're there yet. Embiid, it's great to see him back being himself, though. That's really cool. But otherwise, this year, I mean, you look at Detroit, and they should be the contender, but we haven't seen it yet. So it's tough for me to crown them just because they're first in the East. And it's similar to what with the Cavs last year, right? It's similar to, we've seen it in the past, the team be the first or second seed in their conference, and then in the playoffs come, and it's a lot different. It's a different ball game, right? Like as the rounds increase, the stage gets higher, the lights get brighter. So it's just tough for me to see them doing that this year. But you brought it up, man. I mean, you look at if Washington, granted it's health driven, like you have to get healthy, but I mean, Trey, AD, you got Sar on the come up. I love, a guy like Koulibaly. I think Carrington's good. You got Trey Johnson there too. Like, you got some pieces there. I'm not saying this is like contendership, but like in terms of the East, we haven't even brought up Charlotte, the hottest team in the league, and how fun how fun they've been. Yeah. Brandon Miller's emergence, but not even just yet that you have Con Kneppel being Rookie of the Year conversations, and the way that they've just been playing this really cohesive ball. The East got better. Toronto.
It feels like next year. Yeah, it really feels like the East is going to be much harder, more competitive next season after all of these moves.
I agree.
This season is a little more open still, and maybe that's where some of that talking yourself into the win now, like why not us? Why not this being the move that puts us over the top this year? Because next year, like, you could have twice as many teams that are competing for this level of, playoff spot.
Halliburton and Zubats is terrifying. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Right. For how good and talented Zubats is with his footwork, with his overall strength, and the way that he's able to move bodies in that paint on both ends. Man, you add what they have there with Nembhard and Neesmith. They've got a tough group for next season, and I think that was a very smart, shrewd move by Kevin Pritchard at the deadline. That was well done. I know they lost out on Ben Mathurin, but and good job for the Clippers for getting all that draft compensation. That was a very good move for them, and they got younger at this deadline for sure. But the East, yeah, they what about Orlando? Do you think like they could go places still? Because I mean, I know it's been a down season, but it's still a talented, tough, rugged team that you got down there. So, I was mentioned earlier, Toronto has taken a step up this year. I think they've looked, pretty solid. Scotty Barnes is a first-time All-Star. RJ Barrett. You've got some good, and obviously Brandon Ingram, but you've got some really talented teams in the East, and I think that's driving a lot of fans nuts because they're like, why aren't we good? We're losing games. And it's just like, well, look at the standings. A lot of people are close right now for a reason.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a really underrated point. Is I've been trying to figure out the right way to ask the question. But I think parity, like the reason every team is disappointed is because parity is pretty strong right now, and like there's a lot of good teams, and even the bad teams can win on any given night with the three ball and compete in any given game. And everything's just a little more average than you might want, and that's not as fun as a team running away with it and dominating. But that's where these teams have to win on the edges, and a team like the Magic, they're, despite the up and down season, they're still the 7 seed. They probably they would really have to figure some things out the rest of this way to be taken seriously, I think, in a playoff series, and also just be healthy. Like, I know it gets run into the ground, but Franz has missed a lot of games. Suggs and Paulo missed a lot of games. They haven't really played with their best players yet.
They got Mo back. That's good.
They got Mo. But there's still something generally off with the team, but. Last night they showed when it works, and it's crazy the influence Jalen Suggs has on this team. Like I don't think he's quite their Halliburton yet, but they go with him, and if he's not out there, it's just a totally different team, and it's really hard for them to do anything.
Sounds
but
like
when
Garland.
He's out there.
It does. Yeah, it sounds like Garland with Cleveland.
There is some of that. I mean, he just He just makes a totally difference, and it's on both ends because the Magic thrive off energy plays and hustle plays, forcing turnovers and getting easy points off of them, because the rest of their offense is, as Haslam called it, winning ugly, drawing free throws, getting to the rim, and taking tough shots and converting there. It's not pretty, beautiful half-court basketball, because they're just really talented at drawing fouls and scoring tough. But the Magic team figuring it out, the past few games, a big difference to me is finally targeting more threes for their best shooters and Suggs and Bane. And that, I think, is really going to open the floor for everybody else.
Get Anthony Black the ball, baby. It's my guy.
Yeah, he's been unreal, man. He's been unreal. You're talking about Tyson for the Cavs. Black has been that breakout player for Orlando. Clear, another MIP 6-man candidate type of guy that, they just really. I gotta see the Suggs, Bane, Black, Paolo, Franz lineup, or Paolo at center at least once. We haven't seen that. We haven't really seen these top 6 healthy together at this state, and they could really be special. Obviously the starting lineup has incredible impact when they're available, but it's just another one of those team situations that injuries could really just dictate if they're going to get a chance. And kind of like the Garland situation, sometimes the patience just runs out, and you got to make a move to make it for one reason or another, and it's not entirely long-term basketball process decision-making. It's reading the room of this team, and it's 5 out of the 6 guys here are ready to compete and contend today and not 5 years from now. And we just kind of need another guy that fills out the 4 out of the 5th lineup, or the 7 of the 8 rotation, whatever it may be. But for Orlando, I do think they view the Celtics and the Cavs kind of as that's who they've lost to in the playoffs the last few years. I think they view them as kind of the building blocks that you got to overcome, or the challenges, the obstacles you got to overcome in the playoffs to get that playoff experience. And actually, if things went for as bad as this season has gone for Orlando, if they won one playoff series, that would be a huge success for this group, because that was really all they needed and wanted from the beginning of the summer. Even though it's a big win now move, it's another one where, to your point, I've been saying all season, things take time when you bring in another player. It's not always as easy as a 2K trade where it just everyone knows and doesn't have any emotions involved, and you just seamlessly transition to your new role. It's taken 40, 50 games to get Bane the right kind of more threes, more looks, more the right kind of looks, running him off screen more, and they've done a great job of building his handoff and driving game as a source of offensive creation for the team. And to me, the last frontier is just setting him up for more threes, Suggs for more threes, and at their best, they have all these different options that can beat you in all these different ways, and they just sometimes get lost in that. In the sauce of optionality, I guess, like just having too many options, and sometimes like being great at everything, makes you a master of none, and you end up kind of taking some bad shots. But, at their best, fully healthy, I do think, this Magic could give any team a good playoff series, but they have to show it on the court for an extended stretch. We're still in, hypothetical win healthy talks. As is, this team just... They have highs and lows that are really, really drastic, and that is the part that I think has to figure it out. They're not like, giving the same effort both games. They either blow you out or they get kind of blown out early and let go of the rope, and that's never really been this team. So that's where I come back to like Jalen Suggs and really a guy like Mo Wagner, the energy guys that just spark the energy for this team, get them a little more active defensively. And once they win the margins on, turnovers, forcing turnovers, scoring off of them, drawing fouls, and the rebounding battle, it's winning ugly, but it's what this Magic team thrives on to win games. And like if they can get back to that and add this 3-point element, some more threes, more volume of threes for their best shooters. Like they've had Bane, Suggs, and Black at about like 6 threes a game. Let's get them up to like 8 or 9 or 10 threes a game. That's really all we're talking here. That could be the difference. That's how the Magic kind of could compete this year. But, they, like I said, they just got to show it. It's looking a lot more like fighting for their lives in the play-in and just continuing to build this identity. And Suggs being back is huge. If he can stay healthy the rest of the way, this team will look a lot more like the Magic, let alone if Franz is back soon too. This team will look great again overnight, and everyone will be like, oh, why would we fire the potential coach of the year? There's 3 or 4 all-stars here. But that's the NBA.
It is, and I think that's a good point about Franz, because you get a guy that draws that kind of attention and also has the playmaking chops that he has. I think also helps out a guy like Bane, and helps out a guy
on
like
those
Black.
Two, Suggs and Franz, just those two, their impact this year has both been top 60 and like top 30 defensively. Like they are the core of the defense, and Franz is really underrated on that aspect. Not just an all-star scorer, one of the best defensive wings in the league. So the Magic getting 2 all-defensive type players back could reinvigorate their core identity, I think, is what I was getting there.
Yeah, and it's not like Paolo's fault that he's not like the playmaking type or anything like that. He's just a big guy that gets to the free throw line. He has his spots that he wants to get to. He's extremely talented. It's been a little bit of an up and down year for him, obviously, but I think that also coincides, as you were saying, with Suggs not being around, with Franz not being around, because it's the first time he's had to really do it alone, and then sometimes that gets you into this mode where you're taking too many shots and you're hunting too many fouls, and then that just kind of messes things up. But he's also young. We got to remember that. He's got a ridiculously bright future. I still am a huge believer in Paolo. And the last thing I'll say on the Magic, today, signed one of the most Orlando-type players that I think I've ever seen in Javon Carter.
There it is. Yeah, I look him up on Basketball Reference just to see what he's been up to, and first thing I see is his nickname, Bulldog.
Yep.
He'll fit right in. Welcome to the Magic. That's all you need to know. Don't even look at the numbers. They got another Bulldog in the backcourt.
Look at the film at West Virginia. That's all I'll say. I know it was a long time ago, but look at the film at West Virginia.
No, I mean, he's a tough-nosed guard, and he's been shooting open threes, like 3 threes a game at 35% the last 3 years, 38% the last 4, and 41% this year. Just a reliable little plug-and-play D&3 guy type of, like, that is the plug-and-play. That's what I think of for that. Like a reliable vet, he's there to defend and hit the three, keep the ball moving, and knows his role and come right in, and probably won't, probably gives Orlando's coaching staff a little more optionality to be like, let's see if Jace Richardson has it going tonight as a spark for the rookie, and if not, we can rely on the reliable veteran. Instead of, that was kind of flipped with Tyus. I think they felt a little pressure to play the 6-man Tyus Jones, and then if Jace came in, maybe they could find playing time, but it was just a little little tougher to kind of play everybody, and it's a good problem to have until it becomes a real problem that you just got to kind of move on from. They made that move, and I think the dust has settled a little bit, and maybe it will result in everyone kind of establishing a little bit more of a pecking order with their roles. We just got to see this Magic team fully healthy, as we said. So, the Cavs are an awesome matchup for them. The Celtics are too, and in terms of the Cavs playoff chances themselves, I mean, I think we pretty much hit on all of it. You hit on the Raptors, how incredible like their defense has been. That I think could be a really tough matchup. Like getting past that
Jamal
defense.
Shed is one of my favorite players to watch right now. He is.
Yeah.
He's like
I
always have these like irrational like scouting darlings that I have like when I look around the league, and that's how I identify who I want to interview in the locker room and all that stuff. And I did interview Jamal earlier this year, but it's just that dog mentality, man. I just love the way that he gets into pressure defense situations, and also has been playmaking for him. I loved the unit with Mamu that he would be with. Doing so many good things for that Raptors team, and he's a injection of energy for that squad. But like in terms of the actual like, they're like core stuff like that. As I mentioned, Scotty being an all-star for him, and you got RJ's finally back, I believe, from injury. And then Ingram, healthier. So that's a big time squad that they've got going. Good stuff for them, and even it's unfortunate Colin Murray Boyles got hurt, but he was a revelation. I loved watching him play. They've got a good thing going, and I think I don't know if CP3 staying there. I think I did see that he was probably getting waived, but
that's too bad.
But
the point guard.
Yeah, but I think they've definitely got some good juju going there right now. So. Yeah, the East is tough. A lot of teams' identities are established, and I think that's the last thing that I want to touch on here, Rye, is with these moves. And it's kind of a trope when you talk about physicality and toughness and whatnot, but Kobe did say that Kenny wants to play differently this year. Like, he wants to add a certain amount of ball pressure and creating easy looks through denying the ball. Getting through screens and fighting and all that stuff. And he openly admitted at his media availability yesterday that they didn't have the personnel to do that this season. And so that's why they went a different direction and, exemplified in what Dennis Schroeder brings, not only just picking up full court, but just the tenacity that he plays with. You see Keon Ellis the other night, man, holy crap. The ball denial against LA was fantastic. He had like it was like almost a pass interference type of play, and I keep looking at football, but like he reminds me of like a strong safety. He's a skinnier version essentially of Isaac Okoro, a little bit different defensively. Like I don't think he blows through screens or anything like that, but he is so savvy at tracking the passing lanes and seeing what offenses are thinking. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing to watch. And yeah, the Cavs didn't have that type of defender. They had some size with DeAndre Hunter, but clearly he just couldn't do the things that they wanted him to do on the defensive end. And offensively, he was crushing them, not only with a bad 3-point shot, but also just the decision making. And Kenny said that that's because he was playing with different lineups this year. A lot of the younger guys were, establishing rhythms and whatnot. So it kind of put DeAndre in a different place, which is understandable, and that's why he's in Sacramento. But with these two, with Schroeder and Ellis, I think you saw the other night in LA what they can do. And that is just ensure that there's a presence there. Ensure that the Cavs are playing as hard as they possibly can. And the reason they went out and got Schroeder was his pedigree. And, they brought up the 2025 Eurobasket championship that they won. I believe it was over Turkey. with Germany, and
FIBA Schroeder.
Yeah, and that was probably with Franz playing too, by the way.
Oh yeah,
so,
he's.
yeah.
I mean, I watched almost like I watched them play a ton. He's the guy over there. The quote he has for his FIBA ball is like, "I am Giannis to FIBA what Giannis is to the NBA." Like he literally said that, and he, in terms of accolades, he's not that far off. He's winning MVPs. He's winning the entire championship. The FIBA. They have a ton of experience. The Schroeder Tice pick and roll is as reliable of offense as FIBA basketball has in those tournaments. And it's all Schroeder, just natural point guard, playmaker, tough pick and roll guy and that toughness and just running through the rotation a little bit. Like we said, you now have Donovan Mitchell and James Harden, one offensive engine at all times. Evan Mobley and Jared Allen could be a defensive anchor at all times. You can and they already have that option, but now you kind of have two of each to stagger for lineups, and obviously even better when they're all together. And it looks like you've lost Garland and Lonzo and DeAndre Hunter, maybe not moving that fast on the defensive end, and you bring in Schroeder and Keon Ellis, maybe a little more active and tenacious defensively, even if Hunter is known as a big D&3 wing. I don't think of him as the fastest off-ball mover. I think of him as strength and length and being able to contest and hold his own in tough moments and post-ups and stuff like that. So maybe a little more mobility on the perimeter with bringing these guys in to throw just a little bit of a different edge of the offense only that the starters kind of bring to the table, offensive edge there. But now you kind of know your rotation. You got those top four with Tyson and Merrill, and you got Dean Wade and Lonzo, Keon Ellis, and Craig Porter Jr. kind of round out the rotation for you. It seems like going forward.
Well, don't forget Lonzo's gone, but yes.
Sorry, that's what I meant. Lonzo's out.
Yes.
I just read him off the wrong list there.
Totally no, it's cool. It's cool. But yeah, no, you've got that nailed down. I'm pretty sure that other than the starting five, I'm sure the starting five will be let's do this. Let's go. Harden, Mitchell, Tyson, Mobley, Allen is my guess of what the starting five will be. You will have Sam Merrill off the bench. You will have eventually Max Strus off the bench. You have Craig Porter Jr. You have Naquan Tomlin.
Almost forgot about Strus.
Those are going to be right. I'm saying it's.
I'm pretty sure last time we talked, we were talking about the potential of Strus.
Yeah, no, isn't that crazy?
It's just,
and then you obviously add Keon Ellis and Schroeder to that mix, so you have options. And like you said, like with the Magic, they have optionality, right? But with Keon's offensive game, I think Kenny's also interested in developing that because he thinks that maybe that he hasn't been utilized in the best of ways because he has athleticism and a cutting ability. It's that slashing aspect. It's not so much of having the ball in his hands. He's a low usage player, but I'm guessing that they probably employ some Isaac type of actions from the last couple of years where you'll have Keon cutting and you'll have him, maybe playmaking off the catch or like the Bruce Brown of their lineup rolling around as this utility guard that maybe just throws out as the fifth player that can switch on the perimeter a little bit with the other two guards. You could see him being more like a thanks. You can see him being like a dynamic kind of fifth player in that starting lineup as another perimeter wing because you have so many different options. Now the test will be like who is the best fifth player in this starting lineup because you have so many options. And on the one hand, it's good for optionality for different matchups, so that's always a good thing. And on the other hand, at some point, normally people like to know their role, but it depends on the person. Like some guys are just cool coming in and out. Some guys want to be that starter once they've earned it and don't want to lose that spot. And they're not wrong. The way the NBA works, you lose status is the way you're viewed is a big thing. And if you're viewed as a starter level guard or small forward on a good team, you'll get paid that way when
it's said and done. So that is where the ego kind of has a point, or the confidence, I guess, has a point there. You are looking out for yourself in that sense, but that's kind of besides the point. From the Cavs' perspective, they're trying to find that perfect fifth guy, and Keon Ellis is a good shout as kind of like just this dynamic do it all kind of guard. Maybe they get a little more out of him, especially like you said, cutting off ball off. That's what they need next to these starters.
Most definitely. And I think also, so Keon's going to play up a position. They're going to play him at the 3, I think, more than the 2. It's one of those things where Kenny loves his 3 guard sets. He plays Craig Porter Jr., who's 6'2", but he is a point forward guard. It's the weirdest dynamic that you have with Craig. You mentioned Bruce Brown earlier. They love using CP as a screener and finding him in the middle. Jalen Tyson has also added that short roll game to him where he has that little push shot off the floater. The 2-man game with Donovan Mitchell is tremendous. Teams are going to start scouting that, by the way. Like, they're going to start noticing that Jalen's high screen, Donovan comes off of it to the right, pocket pass to Jalen, and then Jalen shoots the floater or Jalen kicks it out to the corner. Like, that is what happens there. And now what you're going to have, instead of kicking it out to the corner guy is going to start cutting baseline. And Jalen's going to find him on a nice little bounce pass. We saw it with Dean Wade. It happened with Dean Wade a few games ago. It was beautiful basketball. So now you're just going to have to pick. You're going to have to pick your poison, as Donovan says. But last couple notes on the Ellis and Schroeder thing, and then I swear I'll get out of here. Schroeder, awesome story. So we obviously know that Kenny Atkinson has a history with him. Kenny was on Mike Budenholzer's staff in Atlanta when Schroeder was a rookie. And for the first 2 or 3 years, I want to say, before Kenny got the Nets job. He said that Schroeder, wasn't exactly, the most punctual guy. Like, early in his career, he had to learn. And so, like, he's going from that to seeing what he's matured into. Like, he's really happy to coach him, and he's happy to, see this version of Dennis that he saw grow up in Atlanta in those 3 years. But also, cool little note, and I never got this until I heard it post game the other night. Kenny Atkinson played for a club in Germany that Dennis Schroeder now owns. How crazy is that? Like the small world, right? Like, that he plays for a club that Dennis Schroeder now owns. Braunschweig, I think it's called. And he knows one of his old coaches. He's really close to one of his coaches. So it's like one of those like small basketball world things. The connection between the international flair, I think, is awesome. And then just one more thing with Keon is offensively, we brought up the possibility of him cutting and using an off-ball actions. As a spot-up guy, he is really good. Really good. He's having an off-season shooting right now with the Kings because his role has been fluctuating, and he's shooting 37%, which, if that's his bad, that's good, because he shot 43% last year, and that he can shoot the basketball. He knocked down 1 or 2 in LA the other night, so you can see that part of his game come up as well. But yeah, I'm interested to see how they allocate these minutes, because I do and I don't envy Kenny Atkinson, because there's going to be a lot of questions as to who gets how many minutes and who's, it's going to be hard when Max comes back. It's going to be hard.
Man, I mean, yeah, one of those, good problems to have. Just a lot of talent to play around with now. And, to that point about, it's a small world, especially the basketball world, a lot smaller than people might think. There's only so many people in it. And Coach Mosley was just saying last night about how for the Magic coach that this is a relationship business, and those relationships matter and they last, and building them takes time, like any relationship. all of those things factor into kind of, trust and working with people and communicating and language and where guys pick up different plays and actions and how they learn how to talk basketball. So it's definitely interesting. Full circle, and fun fact that he's now the owner of the team, that he used to play for. Maybe they can figure something out, get a little celebrity game going or something over there. Man, thanks a lot, Spencer. It's been great diving in all things Cavs, NBA trade deadline here. Look at the Eastern Conference playoff outlook after the moves. I think the Cavs are as set up as anybody to make a real run. So can't wait to see kind of how it goes. And it'd be great for a few of these guys to, it's always cool to see guys get that chip off their shoulder when it comes to the title thing. It stinks when a guy goes through his whole career and just has to kind of live with those jokes forever when they're just an all-time great player and people are just trying to find a way to take a shot at you. It's like, all right, well, did you make the league? Were you one of the 500 people ever or whatever it is, 5,000 people ever to play pro ball? No? Well, anyway, thanks a lot, Spencer. It's been fun talking Cavs and really appreciate your perspective. Anyone that, needs to or is interested in following the Cavs basketball at all and NBA draft, got to check out Spencer Davies' account. He's covering everything everywhere. Anything you want to plug here at the end, Spence?
Sure, man. Yeah, no, I have my X account. It's at Spin Davies. The same goes for Instagram, as you mentioned at the beginning of the show. So graciously, I do too much stuff, way too much stuff. So please consume. At Clutch Points, all of my work for the Cavs there written. Everything podcast and video wise is on Cavs Roundtable. So CavsRoundtable.com and YouTube. Search up Cavs Roundtable and see all the stuff we have there. RG.org and R.org is where my national NBA features are going to be going. Ryan, I actually just completed one with Noah Penda when they were in town a few weeks ago. So that one will be going up and looking forward to having that. I also have one coming up. It's a Thunder one, but I'm going to tease that because I don't want to give that name away. And NBA draft feature writer for Babcock Hoops at babcockhoops.com. Got to check out the article that we did with Braylon Mullins. He's a standout freshman at UConn, absolute stud. And I have another one coming there too in the future. And then the last one, as you said, the utility man for Run the Show. It's a great player development program and company that I'm very lucky to work with. Next to Ty Neal, who's a former coach for the Cavaliers and interim G League head coach a few years ago. Blessed to be working there. And we have started a podcast called Hoop Industry. So that's Hoop Industry podcast on YouTube, and it's also on all your streaming platforms. We had some cool guests so far. We had Kyle Guy on for our third episode, and it was a really good one, man.
Okay.
So please subscribe and check that out, because that is more or less just straight up hoops talk. And if you like basketball, then you're going to hear talks about sets. You're going to hear about the art of shooting. You're going to hear about all sorts of insights behind the scenes from a guy that used to be in the building. So it's a really cool dynamic there. So I think that's all I do. But yeah, at Spin Davies on Twitter, at Spin Davies on Instagram. Thank you guys so much, and thank you, Ryan, for having me on again.
Hey, it's hard to keep track, man. Yeah, thanks for taking the time. Shout out to Matt Babcock and the team, Babcock Hoops. Hope y'all doing well. Check out the site there and check out everything Spencer's up to at Spin Davies. Got to keep up with it. You do great work, Spencer. It's always interesting seeing what you're up to lately and catching the latest interview and deep dive and hear the players' perspective that you share and are able to tell these guys stories. Appreciate what you do, and thanks for taking the time. It's definitely interesting time for the Cavs, and I just can't wait to kind of see how this offense looks. This is an instant league pass must watch the rest of the way. This is a fun team to figure out. It could be really explosive, and we'll kind of see how long it takes, I think, is the real question. Can't wait to see it. Thanks for taking the time, Spencer. Have a good one.
Learning Basketball is a Swiss Theory podcast hosted from beyond the arcade. Hey, that's me. You can find my work on Twitter, YouTube, Substack, and check out the team's writing at theswishtheory.com.